Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 92, and we're going to cover 1 Samuel chapters 4 through 6. Last time we left off introducing our final judge, which is Samuel, and God called him, and Eli affirmed that it was the call of God, and he told him how to listen to the voice of God, and God gave Samuel an update of what he was about to do to Israel. And we're about to start to see that on today. So let's walk into chapter 4 together. We're about to look at a battle that the Philistines are about to win, and they're actually about to take the ark of God. And we learn a valuable lesson here in this story. Follow me as I read. Verse 1, it says, "Thus the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out to meet the Philistines in battle. The Philistines drew up in battle array to meet Israel. When the battle spread, Israel was defeated before the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the battlefield. When the people came into the camp, the elders of Israel said, 'Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us take to ourselves from Shiloh the ark of the covenant of the Lord, that it may come among us and deliver us from the power of our enemies.' So the people sent to Shiloh, and from there they carried the ark of the covenant to the Lord of hosts." So the story we get here is very significant. Israel is fighting the Philistines, and they bring the ark in verse 3. And it's almost like they're saying, we're losing this battle. Let's bring in our secret weapon. And what are they doing? They're treating the ark like a what? Like a good luck charm. They've completely forgotten that God is central. He moved in the center of all of the troops throughout Numbers to show that he was central and that he was the most important. And you never treat him like a good luck charm. This never works. And we actually see some irony here, because in verse 7, it says the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "God is coming to the camp." And the funny part is the Philistines are treating God as more holy than Israel is. They say, "Woe to us, who shall deliver us from the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods who smote the Egyptians with all kind of plagues in Egypt." And you see how famous Yahweh has become, and even Israel, because everybody seems to know about the battle that God had against the Egyptians. Because Egypt was a big deal. They were one of the bigger nations at the time when God takes them out. But this doesn't work. Verse 9, it says, "Take courage and be men, O Philistines, or you will become slaves to the Hebrews, as they have been slaves to you. Therefore be men and fight." So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and every man fled to his tent, and the slaughter was very great. There fell of Israel 30,000 foot soldiers, and the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. And so it didn't work. Them thinking bringing God on the battlefield, treating God like a good luck charm, didn't work. And the practical application for us is the same God then is the same God now. This does not work for us today either. We can't, in a moment of tragedy, call out to God in a meaningless way, thinking just because we invoked his name or put in the name of Jesus or in Jesus' name at the end of our prayer or at the end of our request, that God is going to move on our behalf because we invoke the name of his son or because we call out to him in the day of our calamity. Now, there is a way to call out to God and he hears us, but it comes from a place of humility and operating in a way which he prescribes. But if we ever move in a superficial way where we're using God, we can expect the same results as Israel here, a failed battle. Hophni dies, Phinehas dies, and they report this back to Eli. And it says that he was in his seat by the road, eagerly watching because his heart was trembling for the ark of God. It's verse 13. It says, "A man came to tell him what happened, and he was 98 years old, and his eyes were set, so he could not see. And when the man reported back to him, saying, 'I escaped from battle today,' he said, 'How did things go with my son?' And he reported, he said, 'Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there also has been a great slaughter among the people. Your two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God has been taken.' And when he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell off the seat backwards beside the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died, and he was very old and heavy." And interestingly, This story ends with the birth of a child from Phinehas' wife. She was pregnant and she was about to give birth. And when she heard the news about her father-in-law and her husband died, she gives birth to a son and she calls him Ichabod. And she calls him Ichabod, which means the glory has departed from Israel. And she said, the glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of God was taken. And just like that, all the work that we've done in our Bible survey, reading through Exodus, reading through Leviticus and Numbers, they take the ark away. And God allows this to happen to teach Israel a lesson that he's not just a good luck charm. And you want to know what's funny? The Philistines capture God, and it's almost like he says, now don't get it twisted. I'm still God, and I'll show you that. I'm teaching my people a lesson, but y'all don't mess with me either. And he's about to teach them that in chapter 5. And so the reason he does this is because they capture the ark of God, they think they've conquered Israel. So the Philistines put God in a temple with another false god by the name of Dagon. But when they come in early in the morning, Dagon had fallen on his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord. And so they took Dagon and set him in his place again. You see what God is doing? He has Dagon not only fallen, but fallen before him. This is pictorial. It's showing them that Dagon is worshiping him. So they have to pick their false god up, and they pick him up and they come back in the next morning, and Dagon has fallen on his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and his head and both of his hands were cut off his threshold. What is God signifying here? Dagon is falling back down to worship me, and I've killed him. I've cut his head off, he's dead, and I cut his hands off, he's useless. He can't serve you all. And then the Lord starts to strike them. It says that the hand of the Lord becomes very heavy against them, and he smote them with tumors in their territory. And then they end up saying that the ark of God of Israel must not remain with us, for his hand is severe on us and on Dagon our God. So they sent and gathered all the lords of the Philistines to them and said, what shall we do with the ark of the Lord? And so they get hit with this plague, and all sorts of things start to break out. You got rats, you got tumors. It's terrible stuff. So they moved the ark around Philistia. And if you do some research here, the significance of that is they believe that you could move gods around, and based on their location, they would have more power or less power, which is why some gods had home turfs. And we'll see this even later with Elijah when he goes to war with the other gods. He goes on their home turf to show them that they're powerless. It has been articulated to me before that it's like cell service. Like you move your phone around to get a better signal. That's what they would do with the gods. They would move the gods around to get a stronger connection. And they were doing this with the ark to see if it would be weaker in certain places. You see this one city called Ekron, and they said, why are you bringing an ark here? You must hate us because you're bringing an ark here. And the chapter ends saying that it was deadly confusion throughout the city. The hand of God was very heavy there, and the men who did not die were smitten with tumors, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. And I love this story because what it shows us is that God is teaching his people, Israel, a lesson by letting himself get captured by the enemy. But it's like God saying, hey, I'm here, but I'm real. Don't y'all disrespect me either. Like I'll teach y'all a lesson too. And nobody wants Yahweh amongst their midst. And I don't know if I'm just weird or if this resonates with anybody else, but this just strengthens my faith to show how real God is, that he's defeating other gods even while Israel is being disobedient to him and disloyal. He's fighting for himself apart from Israel. And so we just have this God who not only fights for us, but he fights for himself. We don't have to defend him. He's on the loose amongst the Philistines and destroying everything to the point where we move into chapter 6. They have to send him back. And in chapter 6, they say in verse 2, what shall we do with the ark? Tell us how we shall send it to its place. And they said, if you send away the ark of God of Israel, do not send it empty, but you shall surely return to him a guilt offering. Then you will be healed, and it will be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. So verse 4, they have 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, which is a custom to make models of the plague that was brought upon the people in hopes that the deity would see this and subside his anger and it would placate him. And basically what this is the Philistines are just trying to honor God as best as they can because they don't know him. They don't have the law like Israel. So they're just trying to do their best to recognize God and to honor him. And in fact, we said this before, but this is irony because they're treating God more holy than even Israel is at this time. And even when they return the ark, Israel doesn't revere it. They try to go inside of it. And it says in verse 19 that 50,070 men are struck down and that there was a great slaughter. So these people just try to be curious going inside the ark and they die, even as the ark is being returned. And so we can't move from this narrative without stating the point that God is central and that God is sovereign and he's in control, whether he's with Israel, in Israel or not. He's the one true God. But Israel receives the ark again, and that's how our chapter closes out. And those are the two things we must remember about our God. One is he's not a good luck charm. We don't call out to him and put him on the battlefield and start invoking his name and putting flowery Christian language on whatever we want, whether it's a blessing or for him to deliver us. We must serve God with an authentic, broken and contrite heart. We must come to him in poverty of spirit. That's the only way that we're going to truly get God's attention, for him to fight on our behalf when he knows that he has our whole heart, our whole being, without any reservations. And also, God demands to be treated centrally. He will not be a good luck charm. He will not be a necessary. He will not supplement your life. He must be your life, which is why Colossians 3 says Christ, who is our life. He must have the preeminence in our life. And listen, he'll work on us until he gets that. See, the Father of time always has time to deal with his people. And so no matter if you want to take 11 days or 40 years, God has time today. You know why? Because he created time. And he could care less about your dreams and your blessings and your goals and your vision board when you have no character to sustain it. God will disrupt your entire life to produce character in you. So don't ever get that twisted. And if you're ever going in circles, check your heart, because you may not ever get through that door because you don't have the character to sustain it. And God knows it. We have to get it in our minds that God is more concerned about our character than he is about the contents that we can accumulate in our lives. God's not going to invest himself in things that he's going to burn up anyway. And we got to get that clear today. You guys take care, and we'll pick up with 1 Samuel 7 through 9 tomorrow.